The Pirates fell to the Cubs in a tight one last night, and Oneil Cruz continues to whiff away a lot of the truly great things that he does. Let's talk about it next on Locked On Pirates.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Pirates. I'm Gary Morgan. Today I want to talk a little bit about Oneil Cruz and his strikeout issues, the Pirates bench players, and hanging with the Cubs. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So Oneil Cruz, I think, is inarguably the Pirates' best offensive player. At least he is the one with the most potential to do some major damage offensively for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He's leading just about every major category of offensive prowess in the majors. He's in the 100th percentile for average exit velocity, 100th percentile for barrel, hard hit, bat speed, 96th for walks, 89th for XWOBA. His batting run value is in the 83rd. His base running run value is in the 92nd. Even his fielding now is up to 73. The things that you can complain about with Oneil Cruz, well, they continue to kind of dissipate because of the way he plays. And the one thing that he can't get rid of is that K and whiff percentage. And what's really freaking me out a little bit with Cruz is how many of those Ks are coming on pitches that are in the zone. And fastballs. You know, last night the bases loaded against the Cubs. They're down 3-2, bases loaded. Oneil Cruz comes up. Listen, if Oneil Cruz is the player that we think he is, the last thing on your mind in that situation should be that he may not be the player that you wish was up at the plate, right? And his numbers aren't horrible with the bases loaded or anything. He's actually doing probably better than you imagine. I'm not even going to bother reading them, but they're better than you think. Because just with your recency bias is probably going to get in the way. He's striking out an awful lot. 33.6% of the time he's striking out. In May, that crept up to 38%. And in June so far, it's a little over 39%. The Ks continue to increase. And the pitchers aren't really doing anything extraordinary against him. They're throwing just about as many breaking pitches as they are fastballs. He's whiffing on fastballs just about as often as he whiffs on breaking pitches. So the misconception I've seen from a lot of people is, well, he just doesn't see any fastballs. Yeah, he does. He just misses them, or he takes them. You know, he's gone through this spell of taking that fastball in the inside corner. We saw him turn on one the other day and put it over the wall, and that's great. That's what I hope you would see from Oneil Cruz, a little bit of evolution, a little bit of understanding of how he's being attacked. But I think what we're seeing more than anything is a guy that probably hasn't caught on to the fact yet that he could take a 3/4 swing and do more damage than most people swinging out of their shoes. And I really would like to see him change his two-strike approach a little bit. He does a good job of spraying the ball all over the field. If you look at his spray chart, it's pretty much all over the place. He's pulling the ball, he's hitting the ball straight back up the middle, and he's hitting it to the opposite field. And there's not even like a wild fluctuation between in the air and on the ground. He's doing a little bit of everything. His spray chart is actually really impressive. I have no problem with that, but I think a lot of it is coming from mishits. I think he's getting a lot of opposite field hits, basically because he's missing barrel on the ball. Because while we talk about all these great things that he does and whatnot, I think that one of the funniest things is he's only in the 22nd percentile for squaring up pitches. He's got all these great things: the bat speed, the hard hit rate, the barrel, the average exit velocity, expected slugs even in the 80th. And he's doing all that while carrying a chase rate in the 58th percentile and squaring up balls only 22% of the time. That probably speaks to like how strong he is, that he's not squaring up balls as often and he's still putting them over the wall and he's still being effective, still hitting for a high OPS. Listen, I'm not talking about like Cruz stinking here. I'm talking about Cruz not being able to get to the next step. And I think the biggest thing getting in his way as far as getting to that next step is at least crippling this strikeout thing a little bit. It's not as though you can't have that in your lineup. It's not like he can't be an effective player. But if you want Oneil Cruz to be everything Oneil Cruz can be, to me, this is something that he's really going to have to focus on. He's going to have to change his approach at the plate a little bit. I think when he gets to 2 strikes, I'd really like to see him shorten up just a little bit and see if he can't just focus on getting the bat on the ball. Because again, this is a guy that can flick his wrist and hit a line drive to the wall. And I think like in some ways, maybe he hasn't necessarily caught on to that yet. There was a little period of time at the beginning of May when he was really, really going well. And I mean like unquestionably well. And you would see him shorten up and almost purposefully pop one over to left field, just seeing the way the defense was aligned and knowing all he had to do is just reach that stick out there and touch it, and it was going to wind up in the left field grass. I think that helped him a little bit. And those are the types of at-bats in which he would have gotten strikeouts on before. And that's the sort of thing I think we need to see a little bit more of from Oneil Cruz, a little bit more of a focus on just trying to make some contact. That's all. Strikeouts are okay because you want him taking big swings. You really do. That's not something I want to take away from his identity. I don't want to turn him into this 300 hitter that can't put the ball over the wall, or 300 hitter that gets on base all the time and can't do anything else. Oneil Cruz is a special player. I don't want to take his special away in order to make him strike out less, but I think there's a little bit of a balance there that you can have both to a degree. And if Oneil Cruz is truly to take that next step, that has to come in that fashion. It's been extra bad recently with the strikeouts, and I mean, there was a stretch a couple weeks ago where he was striking out almost 50% of the time. I'd also want to say it might be time to think about being done with the leadoff spot stuff for Cruz. And I'm not saying they have an ironclad better choice there, but you do have somebody hitting almost 300 that you're batting ninth regularly. I don't know how much longer he's going to be here or anything, but Isaiah Kiner-Falefa in that leadoff spot, that might make a lot more sense than what they're doing with Cruz. Maybe get him into more of a spot where he's got guys on base. Maybe he'll see a few more pitches. I don't necessarily think that he's the right kind of mental wiring to have in your leadoff spot. And that might be something that we need to see them make a change with. Get him into more of a run production spot and see if you can't straighten some things out. It might not be the worst thing in the world to have Isaiah Kiner-Falefa lead off. Or even if you're going to play Adam Frazier as much as you are, he's hitting like a true leadoff hitter too right now. Getting on base a ton, average is good. I guess my problem with Frazier is he probably doesn't walk enough to be a leadoff guy. And he's not going to steal a lot of bases for you either. But again, if you're just looking at like trying to do what's best for Oneil Cruz, I might want to see if I can't get him down in the order a little bit and see if I can't find a way to protect him a little bit better. You know, there has to be some kind of a balance there. He needs to evolve off of this strikeout thing. It's been pretty bad. And I it's frustrating for fans because this is the one guy that you should want up there and you just don't feel like you want him up there at times. It frustrates me. I'm sure it frustrates you, and at the same time they certainly can't afford to not have him. Even if he's not doing the best he can, he's still one of your better players. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about the Pirates bench because I think Donnie Kelly's doing us a service by playing his best lineup most of the time. The problem is his best lineup, well, it needs to have some quality reserves to call off of the bench, and they don't have it right now. Whether you're gearing up for back-to-back meetings, shuttling kids back and forth to activities, or tackling an endless to-do list, your morning sets the tone for it all. That's why it should start with the perfect cup of coffee, crafted just for you. Enter Trade. Trade is the #1 coffee destination in the U.S., delivering fresh, incredible coffee from over 50 of the country's top roasters. Whether you're a cold brew fan or a pour-over purist, they've got the roast you'll love. I just got my latest pack, Flatlander Signature Blend. And if you're a guy who uses flavored creamer in your coffee like I tend to, take my word for it. You want a cup of this stuff black first. So good and crisp, you'll love it on its own. I don't even walk down the coffee aisle at my store anymore. Right now, Trade is exclusively offering for our customers 50% off your 1-month trial at drinktrade.com/lockedonmlb. That's TRADE.com/lockedonmlb for 50% off your 1-month trial. Give it a shot. You won't regret it. All right, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. I want to talk about the bench a little bit. The bench came up in my mind last night. I really feel like the Pirates could use a left-handed stick on their bench, and I don't even think it needs to be a guy that plays every day. This could even just be a straight platoon in right field. Adam Frazier's doing a good job out there right now, but Adam Frazier is not somebody that I want to necessarily count on as being a starter all year. He's doing a good job, but their right-handed options off the bench are plentiful. They're not great, but depending on how you align things, on any given day, you've got like Alexander Canario sitting there, Tommy Pham, not a great pinch hitter either. You've got the backup catcher most of the time, which is Sullivan and or Davis, like it was last night. But you just don't have any kind of left-handed power option that you could possibly even consider pulling off the bench. The only one they have in the minors is Jack Sawinski. He's been hitting fine, but I fear like if you bring him up and do the same thing with him, you're going to get the same results. He's not going to play. He's going to sit here, and then when he gets at bats, he's going to look like he hasn't had an at bat in a couple weeks. And sometimes that's going to be the case. He hasn't had an at bat in a couple weeks. I think it's pretty clear that Tommy Pham is not good. I don't understand why the team continues to try to play him. If it's really just the defensive run save, that's not a good enough reason for me. I don't like the idea of starting Frazier out there all the time. It's okay, but if his arm's ever tested, I think you'll see why he doesn't play a lot of outfield. And I'm honestly, he's doing a pretty good job tracking the balls and everything. I was impressed by that. I guess part of me forgot too. We flirted with Adam playing the outfield, and that's the Adam Frazier that I thought of. Adam played a lot of outfield when he went to the other teams that he played for in between being a Pirate and coming back to the Pirates. So he has played more outfield than I necessarily had in my mind. So I guess I shouldn't be so surprised that he's actually gotten a little better out there. But you can't change the intangibles of that arm. It's just not good enough. He's doing good enough to play out there, and you want the bat in the lineup. So I understand that aspect of it. But he's not a starter. He's also not a long-term answer. He's gone after this year. So what do you do? There's part of me that looks at this record and I'm like, okay, listen, we've tried Canario. We've tried Pham. That's not going to work. We've tried Adam Frazier out there. That helps. But the only lefty power option they have is Jack Sawinski. I know. You're probably trying to smack me right through the screen. You don't want to see any more Jack Sawinski. I get it. I think there's nothing to lose this year. This team needs power desperately. They need left-handed power desperately. To me, I kind of take the fact that this team is where it is, and I call Jack Sawinski up here, and I just do what they did with Canario. Make him the starter, period, for a few weeks. Let's see what he does. He's hitting in AAA. Let's see if it translates. Take one last swing at Jack Sawinski, and I mean it. Make it one last swing. Make it a good, real, honest swing. You know? Give him 3 weeks to a month of starting out there. See if he can recapture it, and if he can't, move on. The team's going to have to make that decision one way or another. I think I'd rather make it after seeing it one more time. And right now, I think it could probably help this team. I think they need that in the mix one way or another. It'd be nice to find out if you at least have a bench outfielder there. That's a guy that could probably help this team. And if he can't, it's a guy that I'd rather just straight up say can't help this team and move on. You know, I don't think there's anything blocking him. I don't think there's anything interesting up here blocking him. I think Canario got a heck of a shot. And for whatever reason, they seem to be just about done giving him said shot, don't they? That little honeymoon there between Don Kelly and Alexander Canario lasted about as long as Alexander Canario continued to hit. As soon as he stopped, Donnie didn't seem to have too much homage to pay to him, did he? He made that decision to start playing Pham more often pretty quickly. And I don't, again, believe that came from Ben Cherington. I think this is Don Kelly doing nothing more than trying to put a lineup together that he thinks is going to win. And I'm saying if you want him to win, well, you got to give him all the tools you have. And the one tool that they have to have desperately and aren't getting from anybody on this roster is that power aspect. We've already discussed Oneil Cruz's strikeout figures, right? This team struck out 10 times last night. There was a game last week, they struck out 16 times. We know they strike out a lot as a unit. I guess my question is, what's the fear of bringing up Jack Sawinski, who does exactly that? For real. He goes into deep, dark holes where he doesn't do anything. And that's a big problem with Jack Sawinski. But he also does an awful lot of the same types of things as Oneil Cruz. And I think that skill set, you have to at least, you owe it to yourself and the team to at least see if it's there. That's all. I'm not saying this call-up has to happen right now. I'm just saying I know Jack Sawinski is an afterthought in everyone's mind already, and a lot of you have already moved on, and I completely get it. I hold out a little hope, but I hold out a little hope for just about every prospect. Until they're cut, there's no reason not to. If they're still here, they're still considered part of the plan, part of the possible plan anyway. I'm just saying this is a guy that I think the Pirates should consider bringing back up just in light of where they really are and what's really happening on the team and the roster. They need another left-handed outfielder. if for nothing else, for pinch hit situations late in the game. And if you bring up somebody like Jack, then all of a sudden you do have somebody like Adam Frazier on the bench you can call to get that late at bat someplace in the lineup. You can alternate a right fielder or a right-handed hitting outfielder in and then go back to a left-handed hitting outfielder. You'd have that extra layer of flexibility. Plus Adam plays the infield and the outfield. I think there's a good combination there. I really do. I think first base is another place where we're struggling for that pinch hit option, or they're loath to do it. Jared Triolo is kind of like the go-to for the first base alternate glove, and that's cool and everything, but they don't seem to think there's a situation really, even against a lefty, where that's a better matchup than leaving Horwitz in. So they probably need to address that too. And if it's just about the bat not being good enough, well, the bench needs strengthened. And I hesitate to do that with kids. Like, you don't want Malcolm Nunez sitting up here rotting. You want him hitting. But that's the type of bat that you might be able to stash on your bench and then have a more productive go-to. And they've got some scrapple, right? Like, you really could move on from Tommy Pham. Hell, you really could move on from Canario if you don't think he's good enough. There are a lot of things they can do like that to start strengthening this thing out. It's just like a bullpen. Just like a bullpen. It may not be a perfect fit to have Braxton Ashcraft and Carmen Mlodzinski up here and wanting to be starters and kind of handling bulk innings and inconsistently being used, and we're trying to keep them on some kind of semi-schedule, and it's making us mind deaf every single bullpen move we make. There's a downside to it, but the upside is you get that talent on your team, and it's there when you need to call on it. For some reason, we will not think of bench roles in the same route, and it all comes back to that incessant mental earwig that you have to have these guys hitting regularly, especially if you care about them. Well, I ask for real, is Jack Sawinski still in that territory where this is about getting him at bats, or are we to the point where you can maybe go, okay, let's at least see if he's good enough to be a bench bat? Because maybe that's his role ultimately. And you can make something of a bench role player. You can turn them into somebody that's valuable. They can pop a home run here and there. They don't have to start. You don't have to put up with all their shortcomings all the time in order to take advantage of what they can do every once in a while. I'm not sitting here trying to tell you that the guy's going to have some kind of resurrection or he's going to be great or everything's going to be different this time. I'm just saying he's performing in AAA. We knew he could perform in AAA. He's doing it a little more consistently now than he has. He's 26 years old. Enough. Are we keeping him or are we not keeping him? He's been a major league hitter. We don't have enough major league hitters. Let's do something here. The mix is definitely cramping Don Kelly's style on what he can and can't do. And I don't like that. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about the Cubbies and how the Pirates are going to hang with them in this series and how they're hanging with them already. Because it's very clear the Cubs are a better baseball team. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and big win. we got a big series coming up with the Cubbies. So if you're going to bet, you're going to tell me that you know everything, head on over to FanDuel and prove it. I think you'll have a good time. It really does add something to it. Now, new to FanDuel, it's a perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. All right, let's talk a little bit about this Cubbies series because the Cubs are they're head and shoulders above the Pirates. If you just look at these lineups side by side, I don't know how anyone would look at them and think that the Pirates should beat them. They're strong 1 through 8 in their lineup. You would probably trade. You'd probably trade just about anybody in the black and gold for almost anybody in a Cubs uniform right now, offensively speaking. Oneil Cruz maybe being the exception, despite what we talked about in the first segment. Brian Reynolds, Andrew McCutchen. But even Andrew McCutchen, I mean, you'd be crazy to not want Suzuki the way he's been playing. Pete Crow Armstrong has been incredible. He was not even supposed to be the type of hitter that he is right now. Crushing baseballs too. Like how he got to the pitch that he hit for the 2-run homer in last night's game. I'm still marveling over it. I don't know how he got his bat there. I don't know how he got his bat there with that kind of authority. That's for damn sure. And the Cubs can pitch a little bit. Their starting rotation, I think, has surprised. I didn't think it was going to be as good as it is. I still have my doubts that it is as good as it is. Like, is Boyd really that good? I mean, like, he hasn't been. But you can hit on guys every once in a while, and maybe you got that magic mix of pitching coach and situation, and everything just works out for a guy like that, right? I still question whether they have enough to get through the playoffs and everything. But they're certainly a better team than the Pittsburgh Pirates, so how are we hanging with them? I mean, it really is the great equalizer. It's pitching. This team can pitch to this team. They can pitch to the Cubs, and there's no breaks in this lineup. So you need a team that can pitch to a lineup with no breaks, and the Pirates have proven that they can do that. They will keep some of the better hitting teams at bay more often than not. Now, I think it's very likely in this 4-game series, for instance, the Cubs are probably going to have one offensive explosion game where everything's working for them and they just hammer the Pirates. But I think for the most part, you'll see the Pirates can keep these games close. And that's really going to be the Pirates' magic bullet this whole season. And maybe even into the future a little bit. Their pitching is built to keep them in games. Their pitching is built to keep them in contests, even when it doesn't look like they should have a chance. That's something positive that Pirates fans can look at and know is sustainable and know is going to last beyond this year. That pitching is still going to be there. That pitching is still going to be an equalizer. So when we talk about everything that this team does need and everything that they are missing and how woefully short they are of teams like the Cubs, I think that it's important to remember that when it comes down to standing toe-to-toe with them, they've still got to hit the Pirates. And that's not something that they've traditionally done all that well. Ian Happ has killed the Pirates for years and years and years. He's always been that type of player. I still think in this lineup, Ian Happ is probably one of the least scary batters in it for most teams. It's just when you face the Pirates, Ian Happ is Babe Ruth. Or Eddie Murray, we'll say, because he's a switch hitter, right? So we'll go with a really good switch hitter. But Outside of that, you don't have any breaks in this lineup. You get all the way to Shaw. Shaw and Happ are probably your two weak links, and for the Pirates, they don't even get that one. So they're competing by going through the lineup carefully. They scout these lineups well, they pitch to them well, they know what they're doing. And even then, the Cubs are going to get to you a little bit. 3 runs to this lineup last night from Andrew Heaney, who you could probably argue is the Pirates' 4th best starter. You know, 5th, depending on who that 5th starter is. You know, I know Burrows has struggled a little bit, but it was Majinski before that. It could very easily wind up being Oviedo. That 5th spot's going to be pretty strong. But Andrew Heaney is right now your 4th best starter, and he held them to 3 runs. 2 big blasts, Seiya Suzuki and Pete Crow Armstrong. But he held in check Kyle Tucker and Dansby Swanson and Bush and Horner and Happ. It's a hell of a lineup. So when you watch them pitch through this lineup, I just think it's really important to watch the dedication they have to each at bat. You don't have any of those throwaway at bats when these starters are going against the Cubs, because the pitchers, we talk about like, oh, well, they don't think they're going to get any run support, so they don't want to give up any runs. Yeah, but they also are just a unit that in general wants to be really stingy. They want that mantle of like, we didn't let them score. Like, this isn't just like they're competing with each other on this unit. The Pirates pitching staff can and is special. I mean, it can be more special, but it already is special. And that's what's going to keep them in contests like this. It's where they're going to face a really tough schedule. We keep talking about, I think they have the second worst or second hardest schedule in baseball. And that's all great. We all understand that, and we all understand why. But they're going to be in a lot of these matchups because of this pitching staff. And that, to me, is what makes it interesting to continue to watch develop. Because if they can just start hitting a little bit better, we can turn these 3-2 losses into 4-3 wins. That's all the difference there is. Get a couple bats, and they really do have something here. And I'm talking longer term, like heading into the next offseason or whatever. I don't think they're as far away as this offense makes us feel they are, is what I'm getting at. And it's because of the pitching. If you want an area of positivity, that's it. The pitching truly could be special. Pitching has been special. And it should keep them in every series, no matter who it is. Yankees, Mets, Dodgers, Cubs. No matter how good your lineup is, a great starting pitcher and a good bullpen can make it look human. And they can even the odds for you to actually compete. This is a big 4-game series, I think, for the psyche of the Pittsburgh Pirates. So drop that first game. They got Paul Skeens going today. Be really nice to get back to 1-1 and get him a win, too, in Chicago, a team that he's done traditionally pretty well against. Let's see how this goes. Let's hope the wind is not blowing out at Wrigley. Unless the Pirates are up. And then we'll see how it shakes out. After the weekend, let's reconvene and let's really dig into this Cubs series and see how they did. Let's see how they handled that 4-game set. I think they need to split this series for their own mental psyche. I really do. So I got for you. Let's go Bucks.